Well, hello. It's Norman Kochnick here from Eyes on Cricket, sitting here on a leisurely morning here at roughly 5:08 a.m. after what was an amazing start to the IPL. Again, Mumbai Indians, RCB, as in Royal Challengers of Bangalore, did not disappoint. I was relatively impressed with both of them, considering all their batting perhaps wasn't as strong. Bowling had a few chinks in it. They both played particularly well for their first matches, and I see them as two very high-level teams for this competition. In fact, they're probably top eight. Sorry, not top. Of course, they're top eight.
I reckon they're all top eight teams this year.
Shut up. I meant top three, for God's sake. All right. Thanks, guys. This is Norman Kochnick from Eyes on Cricket. I've got a young Australian player there, Debasha Singh. Are you playing for Australia these days? What's with the Australian hat? And we've also got Chris Vernon there, who is wearing, is that Seven Oaks Vine hat?
It's my Seven Oaks Vine hat. In anticipation for our meant-to-be first game tomorrow. Although, as you can probably predict what the weather will be doing tomorrow, and it's forecast to rain all day. So maybe won't be playing. Maybe I'll be sat watching the football and watching the IPL.
So the reality is, would it have been a very exciting game tomorrow, Chris? Let's be honest. Would it have
just
been
a pre-season friendly, just to get some overs in the legs.
Right.
Yeah, before my big, I'm playing at Lord's on Thursday, Debasis, for the MCC.
Yeah, Norman has told me. Yeah.
So that'll be my first run out of the season, I think. So it's a pretty daunting thing, but yeah, what a good day that promises to be.
And it's an honor for me to have a friend who is a member of MCC.
Oh,
we all back in India also, we just cherish, means it's a matter of pride to be a member of MCC. I have been to Lords on several occasions, having covered this Indian tour, but Lords to me is the mecca of cricket. Obviously, you have MCG, you have Eden Garden, you name any cricket ground in the world. Lords to me is always it does have a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Debasha, I must pull you up here. You didn't mention the SCG. I beg your pardon.
Obviously, the SCG does have a rich tradition.
The old SCG, now it's just a concrete football stadium.
But
it's not quite so nice.
When it comes to sheer tradition, history, Lords, they're right up there on top.
They've put a couple of new stands in at Lords as well. That's next to the media centre. They've added 2,500-3,000 seats. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. It looks pretty special. So I'll be able to see that on Thursday.
But look, the JP Morgan Media Centre is a fearful place to me, having been stuck in that lift there for over an hour and a half with Michael Vaughan and the likes of a guy called Norm, and of course who's on Talk Sport and good old Damien Martin. I've just noticed our commentary back to normal here. We got Manu John is saying, really gave us a show. They did. All the RCB, love for RCB. Munchie is just saying that Chris, he's just a steward. Don't let him fool you. Oh, interesting. That's some truth coming out there from Munchie. I'm not sure. And we've got a lot of esteemed guests as we normally do. Ismooks is there. Chris Vernon is there. Oh, he's coming shortly. Well, you're here now. So, Chris Vernon, how many fan clubs have you got now, Chris?
I don't know. Many. Might be. They'll have to start. There might be a couple popping up on extra time as well. So who knows?
Yes. Yesterday there were a couple. There was plenty of messages. Get Chris in. Get Chris in. And
I'm
Chris Vernon fan club.
The reality was that was actually Chris himself, Debasha. Just be careful.
It wasn't.
Yeah, come on. We're all doubting that. Okay. Now, we need to turn back. We do digress. We have a platform here that talks about cricket, so we need to return there. Eyes on Cricket, we have a great collaboration with Extra Time. This is a smooth transition between the two platforms. We're one family now. We're going to be even more one family. I'm very impressed to have the Bastards here and Chris, having just been on Extra Time. We're going to be on this platform as well. It's a great end to a day for certain, or beginning of a morning. Okay. Mumbai Indians and, of course, RCB, Royal Challengers Bangalore. I hate, to be really honest, I hate the abbreviations. People say SRH. I thought, who the hell's SRH? SRH. Okay, we get it. Call them Sunrisers Hyderabad. It doesn't take that long to say that name. I like hearing the names. We don't say Australia. We don't go, hey, how did A play? AU. We don't say that. You don't say how did Eng play, do we? I mean, I'm being cheeky, I know, but we do call teams by their names. I rather like that. All right, it's 5 a.m. here, guys, but I'm still sprightly. The reality is, I watched the whole match without sleeping, Chris. Just to let you know, I was not sleeping. I was watching the whole match.
Impressive.
The reality, well, my mother yesterday on extra time was knocking on the door, Chris, while I was on the performance, and you could hear this bang, 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 bang on the door, and I'm trying to keep concentration. It was pretty hard. All right, look, AB de Villiers, oh my God, 37, going on 27, going on 23. The man's remarkable. He's an incredible player. I'm actually disappointed he's still not playing for South Africa. South Africa need him. They really do. And I think it's a great loss to South African cricket that he's not playing for their country. I know it's a shorter format, but his play was amazing. Chris Lynn, you weren't there. I almost predicted his score. I actually said he'd get 73. If you were there, this would have been a Chris Vernon reaction. Had I said Chris Lynn 73, you went, The reality is he scored 70. He scored 49. Your take, Chris, on your namesake, Chris Lynn.
I just think it's nice that he's been given a chance, and you see a lot about guys that probably know they've got 1 or 2 games to prove a point, and especially after, he didn't have the best start to his innings. Running out Rohit Sharma probably isn't probably the best way to warm yourself to the Mumbai fans. Running out their talisman and their star player, but it was good to see him, get that out of his head and carry on and get going really, and he's a pretty destructive fellow when he gets going. So, it is nice to see these guys who come in and take a chance, similar to Janssen. Mark Janssen's probably was in a similar boat. But yeah, no, it just seems that the way that 2020 cricket, and I don't know whether it's just in India, but, it seems that a lot of sides are now not going gung-ho from ball one. They're taking 2 or 3 overs just to have a look, to sort of go at 4, 5 or 6 and over to start with, and then sort of exploding towards the back end of the power play. So maybe that's a Rohit Sharma technique, how he bats for India. He likes to have a look at the first couple of overs, and maybe that's his influence on that side. I don't know. And Kohli's the same, isn't he? They're both very destructive players, but you wouldn't say that they blast it from ball one. They like to have a little bit of a look at it and to sort of set a total up. But I mean, AB de Villiers is just the best of the business, really, isn't he? He's fantastic.
But you know what? Tabashis, in all honesty, both Chris and I talked, and you and I also talked about Rohit Sharma not quite being in his best. We analysed Kohli to death about him not having the right strike rate. Let's be honest, they're 2 mega champions. They're extremely significant players, and we expect such a high standard from both of them. No one can keep that the whole time. AB de Villiers has got the luxury of coming in and playing now. He's not playing for his country. He's a bit freer mentally to do what he wants to do. I'm pretty sure if you didn't have Kohli and Sharma playing for their country, those two would be crazily knocking about a lot of runs in this format. I think there's a lot of pressure on them. What do you think, Tabashis?
The one thing that I would like to say about Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma is that their ability to change gears. They can change their gears anytime. Means they can just play. Then all of a sudden they can change their gears and slam banks. So that is what the specialty of Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma is. And also the fact is that means they are both great batsmen across the format. Just see their numbers. The numbers will suggest, and we all should acknowledge that they are 2 great batsmen in modern day era, without a doubt. And their ability, and the good thing about Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma is that they have plenty of shots in their area. Obviously that is what makes them a complete batsman. They don't need to do a reverse switch hit, which is most of the batsmen they prefer hitting a switch hit shots or a dill scoop or stuff like that. But then they play proper cricket shots, and still they have a strike rate of over 100. Means that is what is so special about Virat and Rohit.
That's true. That's very true. I just want to make a Anshuman Gautam, which is the real music harmony, Chris Vernon. Yes. It'll be hard for 2 months for Norman. Sleep schedule completely ruined. You bet. And my looks might actually suffer as well. I'll have to go to several beauticians before and perhaps even during and after the match. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure your looks can suffer much, Norman. I've actually
Chris, you mumble when you say things. What did you say then? Did I hear you clearly?
It wasn't nice. Interesting point on RCB, and I'm an RCB fan. I think Music Harmony is an RCB fan too. I said a few weeks ago, and we did our preview shows, that I fancy RCB this year to do well, but I think the whole tournament hinges on Glenn Maxwell's form. Just because I think that Kohli and de Villiers will go well. They're proven probably two of the best 5 batters in the tournament, and they've proven that for 10 years, not without a doubt. I think that they've brought Maxwell in. I'd like to see him bowling a little bit. I think that we might see him bowl a little bit. With Chahal's form's a bit in and out. He's not bowling particularly well at the moment. So, I think that now they've got that finisher all-rounder in the middle, and with Dan Christian in there as well, they've got 2 guys that can finish an innings, whereas I think before it was literally if Kohli or de Villiers didn't get 80, 90, 100, they're going to struggle because I think their bowling is still slightly weak. I know that Jameson looked good today. But I really feel if Glenn Maxwell has a good tournament, I feel like they're one of the favourites.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I was impressed with Maxwell's attitude, and I think it's attitude that wins him over. He was given the opportunity to bat at 4 above de Villiers, which that intrigued me somewhat because I fully expected it to be the other way around. I think they're tossing up who's going to be the finisher, and they've got the ability to do so. I think that's significant. I think the Maxwell's is going to become significant, and based on the influences of both Kohli and AB de Villiers on him, in particular AB de Villiers.
I think they're playing around with their order a bit. I think Padikkal will come in for Paybar at the top of the order. I don't see Washington Sundar batting at 3 or 4. So I think what you might see quite a bit in this tournament, and it has happened in previous IPLs, I think you might see AB de Villiers at 3 a little bit. I just don't know where they're going to find a 3 from, unless they play Paybar and Padikkal and drop one of the bowlers, or maybe keep Sundar up there as a pinch hitter. But Padikkal's been one of the best players in the domestic game, and Debasis will know more about the domestic cricket in India than me, but he's been one of the superstars coming through. So yeah, you got to have your best players facing as many balls, and maybe with Maxwell and Christian in the middle order, that they're not as scared to give de Villiers the 3 slot as well going forward.
So okay, we're keeping Kohli as opener.
I think we've lost Debasis.
No, that's right. That's right. Well, he'll come back. We'll get him to come back. The reality is that we have a situation with Kohli certainly going to stay in that opening position for the whole season. Do you agree?
Sorry, say that again. I missed that.
We're going to have Kohli stay in the opening position for the entire series. I think he's made that decision.
I would have thought so. As I said, they're probably missing a proper number 3. Whether they might, and I'm not saying it will happen, but to keep the order long, they might keep Sundar opening and open him with Padikkal, and then back Kohli at 3, and then go de Villiers, Maxwell 4 and 5. That's potentially an option. But yeah, they are missing probably a batter in there, a number 3, because you probably want de Villiers, Maxwell 4-5 with Kohli opening. So it would just be interesting to see how they go. Padikkal's a big miss, and it depends how they see maybe Washington Sundar's role being in that side.
Yeah, Washington Sundar shouldn't have opened today. I don't think. I think that was a mistake. Personally, I don't think he at all complimented Kohli in the batting. I don't think they batted well together. It may be just the lack of experience together, but I don't believe he was the right choice.
Yeah, I think it was just an option for them. Padikkal is going to be the opening bat. They've made that clear, and he scored a load of runs last year. He's in fine form. So I think they probably just played around. Bumrah has opened the bowling. They probably wanted to keep de Villiers, Maxwell, Christian back for the finish. and it was just a left-hand, right-hand combination. And I think that was probably why, Sundar's been in pretty decent batting form for India, in the Test series, and maybe they just thought they'd give it a go. And it wasn't awful. He didn't. They saw off 3 or 4 overs, which I think is the key thing. In run chases of mediocre size, if you lose 3 wickets in the first 5 or 6 overs, you're probably not in a good position to win the game. So it'll just be interesting to see what they do. And I don't know what Debassis thinks about whether, when Padikaw's back, whether they'll stick with Sundar and Kohli and bat Padikaw at 3, or maybe Kohli will go to 3. Because I think that RCB are probably missing a number 3. Whether or not you bat de Villiers at 3 and Maxwell at 4, Christian 5. So they've just got to work out who bats at 3 for them, I think. Because if Kohli opens with Padikaw and they want to keep Maxwell and de Villiers at 4 and 5, then maybe they'll bat Sundar at 3. But it'd be interesting to see how they work it out, because no doubt that they'll have a plan and what they're looking to do.
No, I think Kohli has made himself very clear at the start of the season that he's going to open the batting in the IPL throughout the season, keeping in mind the T20 World Cup that is later in the year. I think that's more or less that he has more or less decided that he's going to open, and why not? Because he has scored 2 times, as Norman pointed out in one of our discussion, is that he has now scored more than 2,500 runs, both opening the batting and batting in at number 3. So why not he should open the batting? And he has scored 500s opening the batting in the IPL. So I think it's a fair call for him to open the batting for RCB with the Padikkal. But I think they might get in Rajat Patidar. Means obviously he failed today, but he's a very decent batsman for Madhya Pradesh MP, which is in the central zone of Indian. And perhaps maybe you should send Maxwell ahead of AB, because we know the strike rate. Last season, we talked about his strike rate. He has almost 222 strike rate batting towards the later stage of the innings. So that means AB de Villiers can fit in the role of the finisher. If you tell me, if you want my opinion, I would like to see him batting down the order, because he can just muscle the bowlers on any bowling attacks on his day, and towards later stage, just as was the case today. The RCB required some 40 odd runs, and he made it look so easy at the end. So I think that he definitely would add more firepower if he bats lower down. Maybe Maxwell can go in ahead of AB. And then you have the likes of Dan Christian also.
Do you think that de Villiers has a say? I think that if I was Kohli, and I get the impression, because de Villiers has batted at 3 before, he's batted at 5 or 6. I get the impression that I think on the day, Kohli says to AB, where do you fancy? And I think some days de Villiers says, I'm going in at 3 today, or I'm going in at 4. And I think that you'll see him and Maxwell be quite fluid. I like Patidar, if he's a good player, to bat at 3, because I think it lengthens that batting order quite nicely. But I think that Maxwell and de Villiers will probably swap over quite a lot. I think that de Villiers gets choice. I think that today it might have been that de Villiers said, maybe after 14 overs I'll go in, or before 14 overs Maxwell goes in. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if some games de Villiers bats at 3, whether batting first, or I think that he has quite. I'd be surprised if there isn't a conversation there where de Villiers says, Vera, I'm feeling it today. I'm going in today, which is what which I think from your senior players, with that there aren't many guys in IPL cricket that can win a game in 10 overs. Not many can win it in 20 overs, let alone 10 overs. De Villiers is one of those guys that you want him to face as many balls as he can. So what a asset to have, a guy that could bat 3 and win a game, could bat 4, 5, 6, 7 at any time of an innings, come in and win you a game. So.
And talking about David de Villiers, obviously, I think the camaraderie and the friendship they share between him and Kohli. I think if he goes up to Kohli and say that I want to go in at that number, I think Kohli would be the first person to accept it and say he would definitely give KB the fair hand. Means obviously it's up to you to decide which order you want to go. Means I think that mutual respect and bond they share over the years, I think but I'm not as is the case with other players I talking about, but definitely AB de Villiers, I think he has that freedom to go pick the batting order he chooses.
Hey, hi everyone.
Hi, Bana.
Hi, Pana. I think you got a bit
Hi,
of
Aparna.
feedback coming from there, Pana. You all right? Okay. It's great to have a Pana saying here with her cricket conversations of you've got the echo. Have you got the show on your other computer? I can hear reverberation of Pana.
Oh, you can hear it. You go. Oh, hang on.
Sorry.
It's not
This
from
we
my
can
one.
hear.
Let me mute it.
Okay. Pana's had to mute that because she had a bit of reverberation. It's all right. She'll sort it out. It's good to have a Pana here. Pana's going to come back on and do that. The reality is that I'm very impressed with RCB today. And I don't know why. I mean, they've won the match, yes. But I'm very impressed with the ability they've got to chop and change now the batting order with either Maxwell in or out, as in positioning of the order, AB de Villiers. The only key is to having Kohli bat with a regular opener. That's the only key. I think teams often try to protect a batter by putting them second and third drop, not having them go too high. But I think RCB have to take the bit between the teeth and allow a heavy top order. Allow AB de Villiers and Maxwell to be high because they can finish well, but they can also start early. 20 overs is not that long. I think you can finish the game well, even though you might be up the order. And I think those guys have got the capability to bat through the entire innings.
I think that Paddy Carroll will open the batting every game that he's fit, and I don't think so. They have got an opener. He just wasn't 100% fit today.
Right.
Let's face it, in my opinion, that RCB, if they had a good bowling attack, they would have won 2 or 3 IPLs. You know, they've always had good batting. You know, they've always had de Villiers, Kohli, Gale, McCullum, Finch has played there. Every year they let themselves down because you look at their bowling and think that's not good enough. You know, they've got no Bumrah. You know, Siraj is obviously finding his way. You know, he's an impressive young guy. Whether or not he's good enough to lead an attack yet, I don't know. They've taken a big punt with Jameson and he impressed today. I'm still not convinced that his pace on Indian wickets, I think that he will go for some runs. So they've just got to find, if RCB's bowling attack has a good tournament, I think that they're right in the mix as favourites because their batting will take care of itself. I don't see a better, more destructive top 5 than Padikal, Kohli, Maxwell, de Villiers, and one other.
And Christian.
Yeah, I honestly think that's one of the best top 5s in the comp. So their bowling has to turn up, and if they do, then they're going to be a hard team to beat.
There's something about Dan Christian. I just don't know what it is. He doesn't necessarily have to bat or bowl well, but his presence, the way that Kohli was reacting when Dan Christian was making comments through the match, Kohli was absolutely high-fiving Christian. Clearly, the man's got a Midas touch. He almost knows what to say in that background. It's quite impressive. Look, very quickly, Anshuman Gulson he's been saying a lot of great comments there. He did bring up a side earlier on. Obviously, Virat with DDP, Punda, Maxi, Washington, of course, is there. You have Christian, Sundar, Harshal, Jamison, Siraj, and Chahal. Not a bad side, is it?
No, it's the bowling. Their batting will be those guys will be, as consistently proven, will be very good. Harshal Patel, I think he's coming from Delhi. Did he get traded from Delhi Capitals? Haryana. Is that right?
Yeah, he's been traded from the Delhi Capital, but he's basically from Haryana, north of India.
I mean, great trade. First game, take 5 for and win your game. You know, you've already justified your trade. You know, that's job done. You know, if anything more is a bonus. You know, if he keeps going, then he can bat 2, can't he? I think Harshal. So good all rounder to have in there as well. So they will just be a little bit worried about Chalal's form. You know, he got whacked around by England a bit in the T20s and the one-dayers. they would want him to step up as one of India's leading wicket takers of all time in 2020 cricket and improve his worth. So if he doesn't, then they might have to start thinking about bringing Zampa in, which means that Christian probably misses out. And I don't think they'll want to do that unless they have to. I don't see them dropping Chahal, but they need him to start bowling better and taking wickets.
Very true. Aparna, are you able to, you're on mute. Can you take us on mute?
Yeah, well, I was just making sure that the echo wasn't happening. Is it better now?
It's all perfect.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay. Well, sorry about being late, but fashionably late. That I have to live up to my expectations. I think what I've set up in the last few series. So just trying to be consistent with that. Anyway, thank you for having me. And I appreciate Chris and the Machines being here. What an opening match. I mean, down to the last ball for Chennai to take the match. That's the start for IPL 2021, I must admit.
It certainly is. And Aparna, the reality is that you've got a situation where you've got to put yourself on.
The echo's back. Okay,
the echo's back. I think the echo's there because it's got the reverberation around. She's got two aspects. And I don't understand what's happening. Aparna was
I haven't got it. I haven't got it tonight. It's not there. I think it's coming from someone else.
No, I think it's okay now.
I can hear.
I think it's okay now.
Anyway.
Yeah, there's all right. The reality is that we have had an amazing build-up to this particular series. The way that the discussion has gone, the difficulty with COVID-19 is very evident this year. Even though the players are there and everything's okay, we've had enough disturbances there. Devastas, what about the players that have come out with COVID-19? Akshar Patel, we've had Daniel Sams. There's been quite a few that have been out with the likes of this. It's concerning to me if this will continue. It seems like they've got things under control. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely, Norman. When you talk about IPL in UAE, it was a lot easier to handle logistically because the players had to travel on road from one. Basically, in UAE they had only 3 grounds, but here in India you have IPL being organized in 6 cities, and the players had to travel by chartered flight, and then because the hotel is normally situated in the middle of the city, the heart of the city, so they have to travel from the airport to another to the hotel. So logistically it is a lot more challenging for the BCCI and the IPL compared to hosting the tournament in UAE. And obviously you take the example of Daniel Sams. He was tested negative when he checked in at the hotel. Second test, he was tested positive. So that is the disappointing part, because after quarantining yourself for 7 days, you test negative. Then in your second test, you turn positive, and again you have to be isolated from the rest of the squad, and that is very unfortunate. Means obviously, so this will be a very, very challenging IPL, so as to say. Obviously, we have heard that in Wankhede, 10 groundsmen tested positive, along with the plumber of the Wankhede. So BCCI has a real tough ask.
Yeah, look, the games have started. We've had the very first match. It's underway. There wasn't a crowd, but there was an element of a crowd, wasn't there? What was it so with the crowd? There were people in that crowd, weren't there?
No, they were all BCCI members and the IPL members, and I don't think there were crowds, because the crowd noise that we were hearing was generated by the host broadcaster Star Sports. So all the matches there will be played without any crowds. It will be played in closed doors. I think the people that were watching on the stands today were all BCCI members.
No, but what I'm getting at is it's a perception as well. you could have got the perception it was a crowd because they constantly showed them. I know that was not the case.
That was all virtual because all the sponsors of IPL, so they had representative from each sponsor. So all they have to do is to do some cheering and shouting in front of the camera. It was all virtual.
Okay. Everything new who's joined us is saying IPL should be shifted to Australia. It's a good option. I agree. I could do live crosses all day. Don't shake your head, Chris.
I thought you were going to India yourself. So what's going to make a difference if it's shifted to Australia? Good for me.
Don't be nasty. Don't be nasty.
No, we're swapping seats, aren't we?
And I would like to add is if IPL happens in Australia, all the media outlets would be chasing Norman to give out updates and live and everything. Norman would be a busy man. He would be the busiest media representative in Australia because I assume that media won't be allowed, just as was the case during the Australia series. So people will be after Norman Kochanek, and everyone will be glued to on the social media, having a look at Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochanek.
Do you think the IPL will be better in England or better in Australia?
I think if it happens, if Norman is the one in charge of it, it wouldn't be called Indian Premier League. I know for a fact. The question is, what would it be called?
So hang on, I think Chris is getting a bit jealous. He just said then his question there was, shouldn't it be in England rather than Australia? Well, how does that work out when England has more COVID than anywhere else?
Well, I wasn't talking about the COVID. I'm just saying in general, would it be a better tournament in England or would it be a better tournament in Australia if they had to move it?
Well, without COVID, that's not a question because it won't move. It'll only be based on COVID that'll be moved. So unless England want to have an EPL and an England Premier League, oh my God, they've already got that.
We've got the 100, haven't we? So
yeah. Oh, look, to me, the beauty of this tournament by far is the feeling of India. Even if there's no crowd, there's an atmosphere, there's the thickness to the air. It's magical. I mean, to me, my experiences at the IPL in Delhi, I went to see matches in Delhi and Chennai, Mumbai, and I'll never forget the opening ceremonies, Tobias, with you. Remember we went to
Salt Lake Stadium.
It was raining. Salt Lake Stadium. That holds how many? 120,000?
Yeah, it's close to 1 lakh. Yeah, watching the IPL opening ceremony.
That's a great stadium, Salt Lake City. So it's amazing. What happened? Okay, I have to ask the question. There was no opening ceremonies. There was no opening extravaganza, was there?
No. Last couple of seasons, there has been no opening ceremony, no glamour, no glitz, no cheerleaders. And we have to accept it because these are testing times for everyone, be it the players, be it the organizers, be it the crowds. We have to accept it because at the end of the day, health is paramount.
Absolutely. Chris, when you sit further from the screen, I know you're what's the word for withdrawing. I want you to the front of the screen.
I'm just stretching. I've been about a day. I've got a bit of a stiff sore back, so I'm just stretching my back. So I apologise.
How's your net practice been going? Have you in the nets?
Good. We've had 2 nets to just hit a few balls. Had a bowl. I'm just looking forward to getting out. Obviously, we played last summer. I probably only played 5 or 6 games because of COVID, and our main league got cancelled. So I think everyone's just looking forward to getting out there and playing a bit more of competitive league stuff. So I'm looking forward to it.
Anshuman Galton was just saying the ECB are trying to get the Indian players for the 100. Is that true?
I think that they would always be trying their best to. I think it is, and we've spoken about this. I understand why, but it's a shame not to see the Indian players in competitions like the 100. I don't think that. I know the BCCI, I think that they're strengthening overseas competitions, but I think from a cricket perspective, it's a shame that Virat Kohli's not there, Rohit Sharma's not there, Jasprit Bumrah's not there, because I think that would really take that competition to the next level. But if they could strike a deal where they can get those guys in, because I don't think that it's an entirely different competition. So, it's something that India don't have at the moment. So, from a cricket perspective, it would be great to see those guys there. But it won't happen this year. I thought there's too much cricket, isn't there?
What I gather from the sources is that few of the IPL franchisee would be allowed to have a stake in few of the in 100. I think franchisee like KKR is definitely one of them. Means they would like to buy a stake because they have a team in CPL, Trinbago Knight Riders. And they also had a stake in the South African version of the T20 tournament, but that so I think BCCI might allow them to have a stake in 100.
Okay, can I ask the obvious question then? Why they haven't got a stake or involvement in the BBL?
I think that has got to do with the understanding between the two cricket boards, Cricket Australia and BCCI. I think the ECB is in very, very good terms with BCCI. Obviously, Saurav Ganguly has a very good rapport with the members of ECB. So that might be a case that ECB is a lot more accommodating, because as you might witness is that lot many England cricketers these days play in the IPL, which was not the case even 3 years down the line. Means obviously you see, and this all these English cricketers are more inclined to playing in the IPL. Maybe one fact is that the T20 World Cup is happening in few months from now, and that too in India. So it will be a good practice for the English cricketers to come out here and play in the IPL. I think that might be the case for the ECB to allow their players and come into, because you have a test match following the IPL. You have a very important test series after the IPL against India. So but still you have everyone coming and playing in the IPL, and because I think if Chris would agree with me, because the ECB is putting more stress and importance to their white ball team, because this year, as was pointed out by Owen Morgan, that he would like to see the best team playing, because England had the best team against India during the recently concluded series, T20 series. So I think all these English cricketers that are part of the IPL, it's only going to improve them, enhance them, because they will have a what to say, knowledge about the conditions that would be in India during the T20 World Cup. Uh, who knows? But it's a pity. As I would definitely agree with Chris, it's a pity that Indian cricketers are not allowed to play in 100, because definitely with the number of expatriates in England, in UK, so many Indians, it would only help crowds coming in. As is the case whenever Indian team plays a series in India, you have chock-a-block crowds. I mean, especially with the Bharat Army members filling in the stands, hundreds. You can like literally see 80% of the stands. I have witnessed it myself. I mean, you would literally see 70-80% of the stands filled by the Indians.
That's exactly right.
Whenever India play in the UK.
It's incredible, I mean, I think we're getting comments from everything new. He's asking about the 100. He didn't know what the 100 was. I'm just to make that clear, there are people that may not have heard of the 100. The reality is it's a tournament not unlike the T20, but it is in fact 5 ball overs, 20 overs. That makes 100.
It's 20 sets of 5. It's not overs, so you can bowl 10 balls in a row. So
right,
each bowler, I think, can bowl 20 balls. They can do that in 4 sets of 5, or they can bowl 2 10s, or they can bowl 1 10, 2 5s. It's something a bit different. It's basically designed to be on Freeview telly, so not on paid, not on Sky, and they have to be a lot more strict and rigid with their timings. So they've developed a format that fits into, I think, a 3-hour period. So as I said, it's a bit gimmicky, I think, to start with, but anything that helps get kids and people grassroots, if kids love it, and the take up is comes from there. And then the best thing that they can do is then put the England India series on Freeview telly as well, because you've got kids who love 100 who might then say, well, let's, I enjoyed that, let's watch Ben Stokes and Chris Wokes and Josh Butler play again, because I really like them play. So then they're starting to watch Test cricket as well. So, yeah.
Now, just a moment. Pretty is not here. I've got to remind you, she's come back from the Virgin Islands on a trip to the west coast of California. But a partner's just messaged me. She wants to try. Oh, okay. You missed me. I missed you. Okay. Do you want to try that video? Yeah.
I was like, well, let's have fun. Man, enough of the serious talking, I think. This is IPL. This is not international cricket. Come on, guys.
Now, partner's right. Do you want to show that video? Can you show that video from your end?
Yeah, I think okay.
A partner's going to try to show a video, a promotional video.
On Norman's demand.
Give it a go.
You have to put that on, Norman. From your end.
Is it playing?
Yeah, you have to put that on from your end.
Just go on mute. Mute from the partner.
Okay.
The fact is that what a partner's trying to do. We have an actual promotional video, guys. Tabashis, you can get off mute if you want. You're on mute, Tabashis. We have this promotional video that we're trying to bring into play, trying to be a bit more entertaining, being an IPL scenario. Tabashis has got amazing stuff on Extra Time. So many platforms have got that. We've got the raw beauty of Norman Koshnek, the so-called beauty of Chris Vernon, Tabashis with his Australian hat and his chocolate-stained lounge there. Did you have a one of those kids fights when they throw ice creams around or something? No.
I like Tabashis' seat. Leave him alone. I like his chair.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just having some fun. Aparna, how are you going?
Yeah, Norman, can you put it on from your end? You see in the bottom? What you see in the bottom? Just flick it through. Like you get some guests or something. With my name.
In the bottom.
Yeah. Next to my screen, I think you should be able to.
Yeah, I can't see it. We'll do it next episode, right?
Okay.
For some reason, I'm not getting.
No, just leave it to that.
Put it back on mute.
Anyway,
Put it on mute.
we're gonna do a lot more with other. So, who's you supporting, Chris? Which team?
I'm a big fan of the current cable leaders. I've always been an RCB fan. So I'm happy today.
Oh, that's good. You're not just saying that because they won.
No, to be fair, Tabashis has been on with Norman, and people will say in the chat that I've made it very clear that I'm an RCB fan from day one. So.
What about you, David? RCB?
Obviously, being from Calcutta, I would love to see Kolkata do well, just as Norman. But I am not a big fan of KKR. I would love to see. I would love to see Chennai do well because I'm a big fan of MS Dhoni. But he has passed his golden days. He's past his best time, so as to say. Because Chris and Norman has not given a semblance a chance of getting them to the playoffs. But I would love to see them proving a point, proving them wrong, proving both Chris and Norman wrong. And tomorrow is the day. Delhi Capitals, they are facing Delhi Capitals, and I think Norman would. Oh, you and Norman both will be supporting Delhi Capitals, but let's see.
Well, I'm in Delhi Heights, so. I've got all rights by birth.
The problem I have with CSKA is I don't see what side they displace at the top, because Mumbai will be there, RCB should be there, Sunrisers look very strong, Punjab looks strong, and you've got Rajasthan, Delhi looks strong. I just think when you look at CSK's squad, they just look a bit old and a bit past it. They all do. Even the overseas, you've got Faf, 35.
And you have not given a chance to KKR as well.
Well, that's what I mean. That's where KKR had a chance. I just, if we're talking purely CSK, I don't see how they can get in that top 4.
I need to stop. Partner, when you're not talking, go on mute. When you're talking, go off mute. We're getting the echo. All right, so when you're not talking apart, okay? That's better. So when you want to talk, you talk, okay?
You sure you're getting the echo from my side? Because I'm still getting it when I'm on mute.
When you're not on mute. Yeah.
Now it's okay.
That's okay. All right. So Chris and Debastian, so Aparna's brought us some very good points. It's been excellent getting Aparna's point of view as well. The reality is that Aparna hosted a show, I think it was yesterday, with the so-called girls of cricket, with the likes of Shripali Werakoti. We also had Winifred Durasame. It was very interesting to hear from them about the desire to have more teams in the W form of the IPL. The fact is, and a lot of players have been talking lately about having like for like, as they do. There should be a Delhi Capitals women's team. There should be a KKR. They should be given exactly the same platform. I know it's a bit of a huge leap from the format they have now, but it's time we do that. We have to allow that women's cricket to grow. The most growth in cricket in the world is women's cricket. The percentages show that more people taking up cricket around the world in countries like Vanuatu, Peru, you name it, is women. That's where the true growth is, and they have to be given a platform. And IPL is just that. They've tried it with some 2, I think 3, maybe 4 teams. They need to go the whole 8. There may not be enough players, people are saying, but actually I disagree. Give them the opportunity, like a Winifred from Malaysia, they'll be able to produce. I think we need to give that credit. What do you guys think?
I think the best thing that happened in England with women's cricket, bearing in mind a lot of the funding, pretty much all the funding comes from the men's game, which, it happens in all sports. But the cleverest thing that they did, and whether or not it's the IPL could look at it, is have both games on one day, have the tournaments running side by side. A lot of the time that with a 2020 match in England, they would have the men starting at 4 o'clock. They had the girls starting at 11 o'clock. They sell tickets for the whole ground for the whole day. So people who have bought a ticket for the men's can come in and watch the girls as well. And all of a sudden, the girls are then playing in front of the TV because the TV cameras are there. They then have a much fuller stadium. So could you run a women's IPL at a similar time to the men's? And if the men are saying starting at 7 o'clock Indian time, could you have a women's IPL game starting at 2 o'clock the same day on the same ground on the pitch next to it? You then might get half a stadium or 3, because Indians love their cricket. They would probably come and watch the game as well. So all of a sudden you've got it on TV. You've got a much bigger stadium with people there, and then you develop interest and funding that way. And it works well in England. So maybe that's an idea that the BCCI could look into. I don't see why that you couldn't have that.
The reality is the BBL have tried that as well, Chris. They've had the matches beforehand. But in women's cricket in Australia, it's reached a level there that they can stand their own, and they're getting a lot of television viewing in the tournaments there. That has actually emerged from that position. I agree. You need to have the women before the men on the same ground, the same crowd. That's excellent. It creates attention, and then ultimately they can stand alone. They've probably gone standing alone too early. I think it's time they do it. Yes, Sebastian.
They still do mix it, don't they? There still are games where the girls and the guys play together, which I think is a good idea. And I'm not saying every game, because obviously some of the IPLs have day starts, so it couldn't work all the time. But there's no reason why a third of the games or a quarter of the games could be done in that. If it's a head-to-head between Mumbai and Delhi, if that's a big derby, or you've got to try your best to where you can develop it, and that's got to be a good way to do it.
Absolutely, Sebastian.
Yeah, obviously, there was a lot of criticism with BCCI because recently the Indian women's team played the South African women's team, and the timing of the match collided with the India-England series. Now, who on earth will watch a women's game when you have the men's team playing simultaneously? People will automatically glued to the TV sets to watch the men's team playing instead of women's team. So there has been a lot of criticism against BCCI with the scheduling and the timing. And one thing that the ICC should look at is that when you talk about countries like Sri Lanka, we were discussing this in the morning, is that Sri Lanka hasn't played an international cricket for almost 420 days. And that's a
Amazing.
long. Just wonder, 420 days they haven't played a international match. How does it going to help the Sri Lankan women's cricket?
But I have
So
something to say. I have something very strong to say about that.
I
I'm
think
very.
I think Ben Stokes has come up with a big statement, huge statement. He wants to see a IPL women's team along with the men's team. All the franchises, 8 franchises, should have a women's IPL team. Then only you can see the growth of the women's cricket globally. I think that's a fair comment. And also, KL Rahul has also made a statement that he would love to see a Punjab women's team in the IPL. And I think England cricketer Shara Taylor has supported Ben Stokes' views. I think more and more the superstars of men's cricket need to come forward and put this case forward to have a women's team in the IPL.
Absolutely. And even Ravichandra Ashwin has been very vocal on his platforms about it as well. They're not saying that because they're jumping on the bandwagon. They're not saying that because someone's telling them to. It's a genuine level of interest. The 100 have got a number of great women's sides now too. They made a strong stamp on it. Obviously, in Australia, it's done very well. It's high time India do the same. I think they probably should be leading this path, to be honest with you. And again, I come back to the Sri Lankan girls. They're not getting exposure on the national stages either, outside of their own team. They're not playing at IPLs. There's a lot of very sad restrictions on Sri Lankan women's cricket. They're not being allowed to actually grow. There's all these concerns that the players will leave and not come back. That's rubbish. That is, if a person decides to leave Sri Lanka to go somewhere else, that's not the case about cricket. The reality is, by them stopping them, they're going to want to go even more. Sri Lankan women's cricket needs to be given an opportunity. They have some great players there that are not getting enough exposure. And I'm very passionate about this. We're going to have Shripali Virakoti on this program and on Extra Time in the future. She's a very vocal voice. She's a magnificent example of how success can happen from being overseas. She finished her Master of Fitness course. She has a future beyond cricket. None of the other girls in Sri Lanka are getting any post-cricket future. They stop dead there, and they're not getting enough encouragement. We need to change that. Mark my words. I could talk for another hour on that topic. It particularly disturbs me, and I'm going to go on record here on my show. Sri Lankan women's cricket has suffered because of the mess that they've been created. And I'm disgusted with some of the things I see. It needs to change. It needs to change now. I'm not happy with it.
Fair enough. Absolutely, Norman. Absolutely.
You said it, Devashis. 420 days haven't played an international match. What's going on? What's going on?
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Means there's something wrong with the cricket board.
Absolutely. I'll tell you factually, there is a fear that the players won't come back. That is absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. It is not the case. So wake up to yourselves and give girls credit that they want a future. They can't be held back. So I'm very, very annoyed by that, and I've got a very strong stance, and they've got to get over it. Devashis, I'm glad you're saying
I think two boards that are totally supportive of their women's cricket team and the women's cricketers are Cricket Australia and the England Cricket Board.
Absolutely.
And to some extent BCCI. These are the three boards that totally supports their women's cricket team, but not so is the case with other cricket boards, and that is a very, very worrying sign.
Absolutely.
If you want to make women's cricket popular,
I think it's easy to support your side when there's a lot of money in the men's game. You look at Sri Lanka cricket in general. I can't imagine that the men's players are paid very well. I don't see there being a massive quality in domestic cricket in Sri Lanka. Central contracts, they're not getting paid much. There's not a lot of TV money. They're not playing a lot of test series. Whereas in England and Australia and India, you know, the men's teams are thriving. The men are paid loads. The stadiums pack out. They've got really strong domestic county games, so the funding is there to be able to pay for the women or to fund the women to do better. And you know, it might be. I'm assuming that a large chunk of the funding on the girls' side for the good girls' teams is the fact that the men are doing well. So for it to get better, I would imagine that India, England and Australia, the cricket boards would have to come together and say, we are going to put some money towards the development of women's cricket in Sri Lanka, in West Indies, because otherwise I don't see it ever changing, because the men's game and the way that it is in those countries, there's not a lot of money in it for the men's games, so that there isn't spare or surplus money for the girls to be able to play and to take time off work or to without a discussion around funding from the bigger countries, I don't see anything changing.
As long as those countries, Australia, England, and the likes of India, and obviously the ICC, have some control where the money goes. That's also important, because when the money's provided and doesn't go in the right spot, there's another issue altogether. They can't let that drop. So, and you're right, women's cricket around the world, guys around the world, is growing tremendously, and there are lots of platforms where they're going to make a lot of success. It deserves time and money. All right, we'll go back to today's game for a moment. I'm very impressed with the IPL. I think they had a great spectacle. The tension of the game, guys. Were you on the edge of your seat somewhat? Were you a little bit uncertain whether the game was going to go one way or the other at certain stages?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the IPL is. You know, the IPL is obviously a fantastic cricket tournament, but I see it as much about the glamour and the spectacle as much as I do the cricket. Sometimes it's such an iconic tournament that, look, I mean, it's just great to see the big players turning up and playing in those teams, and that's what we are watching the IPL for. You know, it's to see AB de Villiers to get 50. It's to see Jasprit Bumrah get Virat Kohli out. You know, there are no other competition in the world. You know, you take the Big Bash and even the English domestic game, you know, Indian players only ever play together. The IPL is the only tournament in the world where you'll see Jasprit Bumrah bowling to Virat Kohli. You'll see Rohit Sharma against Virat Kohli, captain v captain. So it's fantastic to see that spectacle. You know, today I don't know whether it was a convenient or a coincidence, but Kohli versus Sharma, game one, brilliant.
The reality is that I'm going to go out in the streets of Sydney today. I'm going to talk to everybody that's moving about the IPL, and you watch the reaction. There would have been a ton of people watching the IPL. I have had a lot of comments. In fact, it is now early in the morning. I'm seeing sunrise. Our numbers are going up. You know why? Because we've got Australian viewers watching this program. Australians love the IPL. They love them. And England, of course, as well. Chris Vernon, look, I'm going to take a moment here. Chris, the moment you joined Extra Time today, Debasta's face lit up. It was very, very impressive. You're a commendable fellow. You're a tremendous asset to not only my program, but to Extra Time. You watch this all grow. We should have a collective hug now, a collective hug.
I appreciate the best. I would have been on earlier if Norman had told me what time it started.
Oh, that's not, don't you? I told you after the game. And what do you need? Did an invitation?
And we need to come regularly now because we want our channels, our viewers to grow. Means obviously, and it's a lot healthy discussion, quality discussion. That is what the viewers want. Means initially we shouldn't look at the views or the viewers who are watching. It will only grow if we have healthy discussion about cricket. We should come up with very, very pertinent topics, relevant topics, which and then only you can have your viewers grow.
The reality is, both of you, the reality is people are going back to our videos post the day after, 2 days after, 3 days after, because it's relevant. The IPL series is for 2 months. Something Chris will say in the first episode, or the Bastards, or I will say, is relevant to the entire series. There is a difference here. Okay, we're talking about a game, but a lot of our discussion is how Delhi Capitals go out throughout the tournament, the batting order of RCB, the impact of certain players. That's a tournament-wide discussion, and that's the beauty of what we're doing. So our content is magnificent. and I'm going to say Australia. Aparna's brilliant too. If she gets her damn headsets right, she's brilliant too.
She sent me a message just while we're on top of Aparna. She said, "Can you pass my message on to Norman that her internet was flickering in and out, and she had to go anyway?" She said, "I'll let Norman take the light in this one, but she'll be back with a vengeance when Delhi are playing." So,
God.
No, it's always good to have Aparna on. She's she's great.
I mean, we really are. We're really lucky, Chris, and Debashis as well. As we develop not only this program but on Extra Time, the viewership will get to know us more and more. You don't necessarily need, Tendulkar every episode. You don't. You need a body of people that people really love to hear, and they come home with their cup of tea to watch. The guest stars are great. Monty, Adam Hollyoak, the likes of Dipta Gupta are brilliant. We need them, but we need our spine. It's like a spine of a team, and we've got that here with obviously Aparna and Sandy Pan as well. You have there Debashis. He's great. I think they're an important part of that show, and I think it'll develop. And here, I'm really impressed, guys. I've enjoyed it immensely, and it's been wonderful. It is effectively, what time is it here now? It's 6 a.m. in the morning. Okay, the sun is rising. I'm in a mood to go out there and hit the streets and get some early morning hill-having coffees.
And it's 1:40 a.m. here in India, but I appreciate your passion. Means Norman, trust me, I wouldn't have come on. I mean, I would love to be at the background. Means I'm that sort of a guy. Means having traveled for 15 years all across the world, I'm not that guy. I could have done so many things, very well, but I preferred staying behind the scene. I don't really enjoy coming and expressing, but thanks
Not
to you
anymore.
Thanks to you that giving me an opportunity. Means I have also started to come live on my platform Extra Time, which I'm going to do more regularly now, because I think that is the need of the hour. Means we need to come and express our views. Means
And it's the
and thanks
passion.
to you. Yeah, and you have been a passionate. You do your work passionately, and I could see your stuff, especially the newspaper thing, and also you should continue doing this, Norman, the newspapers thing, and also talking to the fans, because your USP is your fans. People love watching Norman Kochnik. People love watching Chris, because Chris, you should know that yesterday there were so many comments. Where is Chris? Even today, also during the pre-show, I said, Norman, after the show ended, I said, Norman, who is this Chris Vernon fan club? Why there
There's
are
a
so
couple
many
of them.
messages?
It's worrying. There's a few of them. But...
Okay, hang on. I'm going to move here.
No, but then
it's Chris. It's Chris.
It's not. I wonder what the obviously it's been off topic, and I appreciate all the comments. Do you think, obviously it's been quite a sad day in England today, I'm sure you followed the news with obviously Prince Philip dying. Do you think that will be headline news tomorrow? Do you think it will be Virat Kohli leads the RCB to victory over Mumbai? It's probably taken the shine off it a little in India.
You mean Indian newspapers?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a big talking point, isn't it?
Obviously, that would be making the headlines in the world news segment. Obviously, almost all the newspapers have a separate world news segment, and obviously the sports. Talking about the sports page, obviously it will be a big blowout of the RCB and the Virat Kohli pick crossing the milestone of 6,000 runs and so on.
But yeah, the Prince Philip scenario is amazing. 99 years of age. Now, do you realise he would have turned 100 on my birthday? Because he and I share the same birthday, the 10th of June.
1921. Would have seen Bodyline, would have seen Bradman. He liked his cricket by all accounts. I've seen some pictures today, some tributes that he definitely liked his cricket. So I mean, it's a sad day in England, but maybe Virat Kohli can do him proud and bring the bacon home for RCB, for Royal Challengers. Royal Prince Philip, Royal Challengers. Maybe it's written in the stars this year.
And Norman, one thing I would like to just, since Chris is also here, start planning now to travel to England. Obviously, that will be a huge series, and especially for your channel. Obviously, if you can travel to England, obviously, I got a mail yesterday from ECB. You should also be having that mail. Is that some 29th of June onwards, they are going to have spectators all across the
Yeah, I
stadium.
saw that. It was
Yeah.
embargoed. It was
I think
embargoed.
I
But now
think
it's been
I think
released. Yeah.
embargoed, and I think we also the Wimbledon and Silverstone and everywhere means they will have more, almost a full house crowd. So that is a good signal. Means perhaps we Indian media might also be allowed to travel to England to cover the series, and that will be
Fantastic.
great fun. That will be great fun.
So we've heard though, Debashis, that Chris's west wing of his villa will be dedicated to 300 media journalists coming in there that all support India. And
No media journalists, just the fan clubs.
Oh no! But I mean, the reality is his fan club would need only a toilet space. There's not that many. No, mind you. The reality is, Chris, you have a serious fan club in India and in England. It's becoming a phenomenon. The CV, you don't need a CV for, that's my slogan. You don't need a CV for Chris Vernon. He's got his own CV.
And Chris, you should post a picture of you playing at Lord's.
Yes, I'll take some pictures.
I would love to. And if maybe you can share a few pictures to Norman and he will pass it on. I will put it on my Twitter handle.
Absolutely. Mind you, I'll put my spooky Chris Vernon batting spoof on it. No, the reality is,
I'll try my best.
I want you to please see if you can get permission to get a small video of at least you arriving at the ground, the spectator, the actual signboard of your team playing. You can do things like that. I think you can do that. We need that. You're leaving home, you're packing a cricket gear, you're on your way to the game, you're putting on your lippy, you're putting some of your makeup on, you're putting your bra. Oh no, that's not. I'm sorry, I'm going too far now. The reality is, we want you.
It gives
want
me.
you to do that. Can you promise that, Chris? Live?
I'll try my best. I know that it's difficult in the pavilion, but there will be an official photographer there. So I promise that I will. I'll try my best.
I having been to Lords, I definitely think it will be a bit difficult, especially when you are at the clubhouse, the main pavilion, main stand, because they have certain dress code and certain rules and regulations that needs to be followed. It happened. So I think, but then packing your bags and starting your journey from your home, you can easily do a small video. And when you are entering the Grace Gate, you should take a video of you entering the Grace Gate. So that's a historic gate. So
Chris, there'll be fans at your game too. There'll be all these. The Chris Vernon fan club will have a stand, won't they?
Yeah.
Hopefully, no spectators allowed, which is a shame. So,
but in all seriousness, for the sake of both eyes on cricket and extra time, we want desperately to see you do that because it'll be great viewing. Let's have you doing that. I think, please, I'm imploring you. We're trapping you on live air, so you can't say no. You have to say yes.
I'll try my best. I promise you.
Maybe I can do one thing, Chris. You do a small video. I will get it edited with my editor. Back in, and when you are live on extra time, I will tell Norman will do. Let's see today it's a great day for Chris. Let's see what he did today at Lords. Maybe we can run that video. Maybe we can run that small clip for 1 minute, not more. It's a 1 minute clip. Let's see what Chris did at Lords. It's a historic day, historic occasion. We can play that video.
But hang on, he won't be playing. He won't be batting for a minute. He won't be batting for more than a minute.
That's true.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this. Means it's only the second day of our live broadcast on IPL. With each day, we will have more creatives and more videos. We will just put in during our discussion. So you were talking about Virat Kohli. We will pop in a picture of Virat on the screen. It will add more value to our show and our discussion. So Chris is talking about AB de Villiers. We will have some small video on AB de Villiers in a box. it will be played on the screen.
What about when we discuss Norman Kochnik's batting prowesses? I can provide you with hours worth of footage.
100%, absolutely. Why not? Why not? This is the platform. This is our channel, and this you have the liberty of doing anything. This is your channel.
Okay, Hardik Parmar has said, Norman, good morning, but he's only said to me, really, it's my bedtime. I'm from the UK, so I'm good of you, Hardik Parmar, to actually join us from the UK, and I think this is like a transition between Indian fans to England and Australian fans that are joining us. I love it. I love it. I really do. So just in a discussion just before we leave here. In fact, I don't need to leave, but Chris and Debashis, your true feeling, will the IPL finish its format over the 60 games without interruption? Do you think the actual COVID may 100%. Have an interruption?
100% BCCI is efficient enough. And they will have their challenges, they will have difficulties, but they are quite efficient enough. They have proved that in UAE, the last IPL, means when COVID was at its surge across globally. And obviously there will be challenges. There will be one or two instances of players getting tested positive or things like that. But but I think they will have a smooth IPL. They will finish up the tournament.
I think you're right. We have a comment from Ankit Vishwakarma. He said you should do a set of videos on the technical points of every batsman with video clips. Maybe not every batsman, but it wouldn't hurt to have a good look at some of the stroke play of the likes of a De Villiers or a Maxwell or a Kohli and Sharma, because there's a lot to learn from watching those four players bat. In particular, their choice of natural good strokes, not necessarily improvised strokes. I mean, Maxwell and De Villiers certainly play improvised strokes, but I think it's a great thought. We should be more aware of that. Just another point, on the social media platforms, which we know are out there for all 8 teams, they're excellent. They're very behind the scenes. But the thing that's going to set eyes on cricket and the likes of Extra Time apart is we've got to be able to be critical and actually show the true reflection of what's happening in the IPL. I think people deserve to see that, not just positive slants, but the real slants. We need to get down to some nitty-gritty about issues that are out there in the game. That's what's lacking, in my opinion. They're too understandably geared towards a positive scenario.
And one more thing is that, Norman, we need to discuss between each of us before our live broadcast as to what are the topics that we are going to discuss. So it's a kind of a
live now, by the way, Debashis.
No, obviously now it's now informal. I believe that the serious discussion is over. Yeah, but I think since Chris is also here, just an informal chat before every live broadcast. So we will stick to those points. Say we are going to discuss on 5 issues, relevant topic, so that we don't go out of the topic. Suddenly, maybe you and I or Chris might not be well prepared to speak on that topic. So it will make us look also a bit, what to say,
on point.
Yeah.
Especially for the Barrett Army and bringing them in as well, that would be an important aspect of their
and I'm definitely going to grade in few ex-Indian cricketers. Definitely, that's one of my main agenda is to get ex-cricketers and also journalists from all across India. Means reputed journalists, cricket journalists.
Well, Monty's waiting. Monty's going to be a part of it when we bring him in. Adam Hollyoak, even David Graveney. I'd like to see Simon have a go. Well, there's a number of people we can bring in. We're a family of platforms. And I think that's really important for the algorithm of life. Our programs are one and the same. So, guys, today I'm going to try and drag a partner into this. We're going to go out the streets, have a good chat about even the first match, get the opinions, and I can't wait to do more about this, guys. It's been fantastic. I really appreciate your time. Bit of a marathon. We're going to be sleepy souls, or at least, Chris, it's normal time for you. Debashis is past his bedtime. I'm waking up. It's crazy. Just quickly, Divyanshu Sharma says, did Marco Jansen impress us today? He certainly did. He certainly did. He's true quality. I think it's we'll be able to look at that for sure. And in terms of the IPL, it's been a wonderful start. Here we go. All right, Chris. Any parting thoughts, Chris?
No, I just let's hope that COVID keeps its nose out, as we said. The worry would be that, is if one side, their bubble or the picked up 4 or 5 cases. Imagine if RCB, if Kohli, De Villiers and Padikal all picked it up. It starts. That's the big worry. I don't think they're worried about one-off cases. I think they're worried if it goes through a whole team, and then they have to then strongly reconsider. But let's try and forget about COVID and just enjoy the cricket while it's there. I think that's the best thing. But up the RCB. I know I've said it from the start. I think I said that I think Maxwell will have a good tournament. He started well today, and if he does, and I think RCB could be a dark horse this year if their bowling bowls well. So, and it's about time Virat Kohli. I'm not always his biggest fan as a captain. I've said that before. I think potentially there are better captains out there, but I don't think anyone from a cricket perspective would begrudge Virat Kohli lifting an IPL. I think that would be done well.
I've got a strong feeling after today's match. Something tells me there's something brewing with that team. They may not be the best team on paper. They've got aspects which they're weak in, perhaps in the bowling somewhat, but I think there's something brewing there. The hunger was there enough to get them across the line today, and AB de Villiers seems to want to do it. AB de Villiers hasn't he's not been a part of an IPL winning team, has he? No.
He's always been RCB, I think he's the best.
Yeah. No, he joined from 2011. Okay. IPL started in 2008, and he joined RCB from. In fact, it was yesterday. Should I say yesterday? It was 9th, the day of the match, because here in India it is already 10th. So it was 9th that he made his debut for RCB, 2011.
Right. So he's certainly been a long serving, probably apart from Kohli, he's probably the second longest serving player with RCB.
I think so. Yeah.
What about Robert Rainer? Sure, Rainer hasn't he?
I mean, with RCB.
No, obviously Dhoni, he has been with CSK right from its start, 2008.
Obviously, they had a couple of years absence, didn't they? They were for various reasons.
That time he played for the Rising Pune Super Giants.
Gujarat
Lions. Raina played for Gujarat Lions. Dhoni played for Rising Pune Super Giants.
That's it.
So the 2 teams that are joining next year are Ahmedabad and Pune.
No, not yet final, but definitely there will be a team from Ahmedabad and one team likely. I think Adani Group and Sanjeev Goenka, the RPG Group, the one that he used to own that Rising Pune Super Giants team, the Goenkas. So I think they will own a team, and along with the Adani Group, I think they will be. Their home venue will be Ahmedabad, and I think one team will be from Pune.
So, cricket lovers making comments. Are you dragging a partner along with you? Yes, I am. Will it be around Coogee or Bondi? Yes, it will be Coogee. So, cricket lover must be an Aussie. He's asking about pinpointed information. Cricket lover, if you'd like to tell me who you are, when you come along, I'll interview you. Okay? Get your perspective. So, Virat Kohli is... Who's played the most games officially? Is it MS Dhoni?
Must be Dhoni, mustn't it? Well, it must be him and Kohli and Sharma. I guess they must all be quite close.
Is there a stat, Debashis?
It'd be easy to find, I guess. There can't be much difference because Kohli made his international debut around there.
No, I think Dhoni has played the most number of matches.
And subsequently earned the most money?
Let me see if I can find it.
All Virat, Dhoni, all are in the 100 crore club.
100 crore club.
Yeah. How much is crore in Australian dollar? 100 crores?
54 crores is 9.5 Australian million dollars. Remember, we worked it out with Pat Cummins' house.
9.4. Double it.
Right. Let's have a look. I'm going to do that calc. And so, if 9.5 million divided by, it was 54 crores, wasn't it? So it's about 175,000, almost $176,000 per 1 crore.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind having a few crores, I tell you.
Mm.
I'll crawl for my crawls, if that's okay. All right, guys.
So it looks Dhoni's played 204 games.
Wow.
Kohli? Give me a sec. I'm just whizzing through their website on different tabs.
Yeah, on quick info.
193 for Kohli, it looks like.
Really? So he's not far behind, is he?
And then Raina. Let me see if I can find Suresh. Because Suresh Raina must be similar to Dhoni.
Would have to be.
Yeah.
Why,
but I missed it.
Why doesn't Cricket Info have the same? They've got T20, ODI tests, but they haven't got an IPL button, I don't think, have they?
Looks like Raina's 193 as well.
Amazing.
So because he missed the last edition of IPL, so he should have crossed 200 by now.
Yeah, him and Dhoni must be game for game. Well, they pretty much are. If you had the last IPL, and they would be pretty much game for game. So.
Right.
But Dhoni won't leave the format, nor Raina. They'll be involved in coaching, mentoring. There'll be some role for them. They won't leave. That's for sure.
Yes. Particularly Dhoni, he has a very. He's like the owner of Chennai Super Kings, that Srinivasan, you remember?
Yes.
The former BCCI president.
Yes.
He just treats Dhoni like his son. Means it's treats him like his son. Means gave him all the freedom over the years to build the team and to grow the team, and he has led that franchise for 3 IPL titles, which is the second most successful team
behind Mumbai. That's right.
Yeah.
Devanshu Sharma is asking you and Devanshu a question directly. Don't you feel Indian players are having too busy a schedule, even with this frustrating quarantine from IPL 2020, UAE, Australia, England tours, and so on?
But that is the need of the hour. Means obviously you can't help it.
No,
you can't help it. Means basically everyone knows, because I think we should appreciate that they are playing in the IPL. Obviously, they could have easily said, no, I'm feeling tired with this bio bubble life. Obviously, they just spent a bio bubble life. Just imagine, since the IPL in UAE, they traveled to Australia, then the series against England, and now the IPL. Then immediately after the IPL, they travel. I think most of these premier cricketers won't be traveling to Sri Lanka, but definitely again a bio bubble life in England, in UK. So just imagine, you have to accept it.
It is amazing. All right, we might finish up there, guys. We've had a great session. I really appreciate this. Now, Chris, you said you're not sure about your availability tomorrow for both platforms?
Probably not tomorrow. I'm meant to be playing. Saturdays generally going forward from now are going to be pretty much no good for me. With league cricket, all my games starting. Sunday I should be about in the evening. I'm coaching cricket till 6:30. I should be home by 7ish, so I'll jump on when I can. Next week I should be around most evenings. I'll do as much as I can.
All right, that's great, and you're welcome on both platforms. Debash is giving an open invitation. I think he's got dancing girls waiting. I'm not sure what's going on there. But
maybe Debasis is one of my fan clubs, Norman.
Now I hadn't thought about that. Debasis, can I get your check? I want to do an audit on your IP address.
I'd like to think that Debasis is a far too busy a man and has much better things to be doing.
Now he had a nervous laugh. He had a very nervous laugh when you asked him. That's usually a sign.
I pity him if he is. I'm sure that he's too busy for that.
We need to get to the bottom of this, Debasis. I want to find out who these 35,000 fan clubs are that are running around saying they're Chris Vernon. It's becoming
we need to find out. We need to find out.
Yeah, there must be
jealousy there, Norman. It's just jealousy.
Jealousy is a curse. I don't suffer from that. Thank you very much. My inner beauty comes out. I know that. All right, guys, we need to go away from my inner beauty. Debasis his pseudo-Australian hat going on there, and this Seven Oaks Vine ice cream company or whatever it is that you say play cricket. I'm still waiting for visuals of that. I haven't seen any Seven Oaks Vine videos.
Well, yeah, we haven't played yet. Our ground, the outfield got completely dug up and relayed in the winter, so it's fenced off at the moment. But don't worry, Norman. We'll get the games, and Debastis might have some interest. We've actually bought a camera, so all of our league games on a Saturday are being live streamed. I don't know whether it's on YouTube or via Seven Oaks' website, but I'm sure that some of the people might want to tune in and see me get out for naught, which will happen probably quite often. So they're all going to be live streamed. I will do. I'll make sure that you guys have the link.
There'll be there'll be a duck-only edited version of Chris Vernon batting that will go viral.
There'll be plenty of things to see there, that's for sure.
But no one can match Norman Kosnick playing on the SCG and MCG. No one.
Apart from playing at Lord's.
Well, I played at the nursery ground. Thank you very much.
I've played at the Oval. Anyway, that's enough.
Okay, all right, guys. We'll say goodbye now. This is Norman Kosnick signing off from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kosnick. Thank you to Chris Vernon, Vernon158, Debastis Sen at Debastis Sen, isn't it? Is that Debastis Sen?
Yeah, Debastis Sen all one go.
We need to. I actually got several hundred people join my Instagram from Extra Time. Where are you guys joining my Twitter and my Instagram? All right, guys. See you soon again. This is Norman Kosnick from Eyes on Cricket signing off, guys. Stay here for a second before I finish, guys. Ciao, ciao.